Okay, the numbers seem to have stabilized and I'm recording. So Orly, introduce yourself, please, and thank you for presenting and go for it. It's over to you.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Orly, and I work in Chevra Mishpat. We call it Chomesh in Kfar Batya, Ra'anana. Riva is my coordinator. And I had the pleasure of teaching this year the 7th grade English speakers. Since they know English already, we decided to give them an interesting project to do. They've been reading books in English for quite a while, and we wanted them to read not only for pleasure, but this time to read a book and also do some kind of analysis on the book with paying close attention to literary devices and to the message of the book, reading on a different level. So I'm going to start my presentation. Okay, so the first step was teaching them 4 short stories. The idea was to teach them something relevant to their lives. And also we went according to their book, the book that they were studying during the year. They read 4 stories. The first 2 stories dealt with change, how change affects my life, and what are the benefits of change and things like that. While reading the stories, we read the stories together. We learned all kinds of interesting things about the narrator, all kinds of literary device. I'm going to show you in a minute okay, so reading on multi-levels. First, what was important was to understand the content of the story. What the story is about. The second level was what the author was trying to tell us, the purpose, if he wanted to entertain us or give us an opinion or tell us something about his personal experience. And then we talked about themes, okay? Themes like the main message. There could be one message in a story, sometimes there are more. Then we try to figure out together what was the message. Some students said that some stories don't have messages at all. So it was interesting to go back and look at all kinds of stories that they read previously and try to find the messages there. Then, of course, we did some kind of an activity about what a theme can be and how we can find the message in the story, which is not implicit in the story, but we have to figure it out. Then we learned all kinds of literary devices, and that was in order to understand how the writer was conveying his message, how he was keeping us engaged and interested, and all the effects that he has on the reader and on the story itself. Okay. So these are the literary devices that we learned. Taking into account that these were students in 7th grade who did not study for the past year and a half, 2 years in school. They were at home, we know COVID, and not all schools have a curriculum for teaching English speakers. So despite the fact that they knew English pretty well speaking, they had to work on their writing skills, and some of them had to work on their reading skills as well. So we decided in the beginning, since we were working with short stories, we decided to look at the literary devices in those short stories. We learned these: setting, plot hill, message, of course, the point of view, if it's a first person or a third person. We talked about the characters, how to describe characters. They learned how to describe characters physically and also to describe their characteristics, personalities, what they learned during reading the story. Of course, the conflict was very important. We dealt with inner conflict, external conflict, what was going on, the problem the character had to deal with during in the story, and basically we did that. Okay. Okay, so first of all, the idea was to have fun. So reading stories is entertaining and they liked it. It was fun for them. Of course, we also talked about why should we read stories? Why is it important? In order to help them also develop taste, okay, towards reading, and also to find out what kind of literature each student was interested in. Some liked realistic stories, some liked historical ones. Many students liked fantasy books, we know that. And there were even students who liked books on sports and things like that. Finding out your personal taste was also important because it was to help them choose a book to read and to write about, because that was the main goal of the project. Okay. So these are the things that we learned in each story. Okay. So we learned gradually. We didn't learn one story and all the devices in one story. Each story had its special the special ideas that we talked about, and we started in the beginning. We started like easy to make it easy for them, so only the point of view and the character description, and then we made it more difficult, and we learned more terms, more devices, till we got to the end. The fourth story was really, really interesting. And by that time, I was asking them questions and asking them to identify. They were identifying the plot. They were identifying the conflict. And they were like, by the fourth story, they were more engaged and more, they had the ability to understand and identify all the devices in the story, and also to talk about not only one message in the story, but the various messages that were conveyed. Okay, now this takes time, and it took a while. We did it during the, we started at the middle of the first semester, and we did it till Pesach time. Close to Purim, while we were still learning these stories, I asked them to choose a book. So everyone went to choose a book that he was interested in reading, and they had to get an approval from me regarding the book, in order that I would see that it would be appropriate for them in size, like not to take a book that had 400 pages or something, and also to take something that was appropriate to their level. Okay, so they got the approval and they started reading. While they were reading, okay, this is the book report assignment. Choose a book. Okay, and they started reading. Of course, we talked about the fact of not reading for. Of course, they read for pleasure. They enjoyed the books they read, but they were supposed to read with paying attention to all kinds of aspects in the book. Therefore, the reading took more time. what we did was, okay, we also learned some proficiencies, okay? By the way, in order for them to be able to do the production accordingly. So we learned how to summarize. That was important. Many had to summarize little texts. We did some exercises in class. There was also homework to do some kind of a summary and to get your writing better. We also learned how to create a presentation or a Google slide. We talked about it in class, and some kids knew how to do it. Some kids didn't. So those who knew how to do it explained and showed the others. There was a class when we worked in groups, and we talked about what we need in order to create the project. Okay, so this is what they received. They received instructions. The instructions were specific. They received the checklist of what they were supposed to check every time. Timetable was very important. We also showed in class an example of a template, but they were not allowed to use that template. It was only an example, and they could take ideas. I also sent them all the material in the WhatsApp, and they had the material. They can go back to it and look at it whenever they wanted. It was available. And whoever lost it, of course, phone me, send it again, etc., etc. They had rubrics. The rubrics included the presentation itself, but it also included the presenting in class, which in the end, I will explain, we didn't do because we ran short of time. Support, of course, was very important. They could phone me, they could contact me. We could sit outside of the classroom in Paltani and discuss their difficulties or their obstacles and try to solve their problems. So we did that too. Just a minute. Okay. Okay. What I have here is one of the products. So is it okay if I show it?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Great.
I'll just give you a time check. You've got a few more minutes. Perfect
Okay.
time, perfect timing, and then we'll go for questions.
Okay, so here we go. No music attached, but this was done by one of my students, Yoav, and he gave permission, so we can watch it. We have setting here. The characters. Here we can see rising action, climax and falling action. That's what they learned regarding to the plot hill. He did a timeline of the story. These are the main events. some quotes. This was an extra. Of course, the opinion. And the message of the story. Here we have information about the author. This was also an extra. Okay. Wait, oh, right. Okay, so that was a beautiful presentation of one of the best. Let's see.
Okay, do you have anything else you'd like to share before we move on to questions? You still have some time, Orly.
Yes, I know. I'm trying to get to the, just a minute. No. Wait. Oh, here we go. Okay, this is the takeaway. Okay, what they learned. Okay. I think we talked about that already. And let's see. Oh, this is another one which we will not be doing. Just a minute. Okay, my reflection. It was a huge success. They enjoyed it very much. But the problem was we didn't manage to present it in class because we ran out of time. After Pesach, as we all know, we get into all these holidays. We did some extra stuff, and that was it. So I hope to begin the project next time a little earlier, so we will have time to present in class. They were sorry they couldn't, because they were really looking forward to presenting it. That's it. Now questions.
Okay, so we have some questions. If you'd like to just open your mics and ask the questions. Let's start with, I think it was Omri who already had a question in the chat. Omri, would you like to start with your question, please? No, Omri's a little quiet. Okay, I think Sagit, you had a question. Somebody had their hand up earlier. Was it? It was in that corner of my screen. Now I'm not sure. Sagit, was it you?
I was just impressed by the project. It was, wow, impressive.
Okay, so I'll read the question from the chat. I think we were all very impressed. It's very, very impressive, Orly, amazing. Orly, this was the first time you took on a project like this?
Yes.
Yeah, would you like to share with everyone how many years you've been teaching?
Well, it depends. English, only 2 years.
I know, that's why I said it. Okay, I would like, you must really all know that this is really, Orly was a new teacher only, what seemed like last year, it might have been the year before, because we're all muddled with time at the moment. But wow, unbelievable, and it's really incredible. So we have some questions here. How much time did you give your students? You say that your students ran out of time, which we all understand what happens towards the end of the year. But what would you suggest, taking on a project like this, I assume with a fairly large 7th grade class, what would be your recommendations? Assuming most schools have four lessons a week, like 2 double lessons a week.
Right, and of course we did other things because we only studied the literature program once a week. So we had one lesson every week devoted to the literary project, and the other lesson was devoted to other things that we also had to learn. We had to learn some grammar. We had all kinds of other projects, vocabulary, reading comprehension. So on the whole, I do recommend to begin at the beginnings, start it at the beginning of the year already, because in order for the students to learn literary devices and see them, to identify them, and understand what they mean and how they work in text, it takes a lot of time. We used 4 stories. Maybe 3 stories would have been enough. But I do have a feeling that after working with 4 stories, totally different stories, but short ones, they really got the hang of it. And now, whenever they read a story or read a book, they see things that they didn't see before, which was, it is wonderful.
The presentations were done at home or in your computer's room?
No,
Where
no.
did they work?
They worked at home. I personally was afraid that they would get help, but since they were working on literary analysis, these things were done in class, literary analysis. Therefore, the kids had to adhere to a certain to the certain aspects that they learned in class. Therefore, it was less accessible for parents and others to help them out. So I know that working at home has its problems, but on the whole, from what I understood and from what we saw, the kids, they did it all by themselves.
I'm going to have to cut you very short. It was amazing. And what we saw was incredible. Absolutely. And I can see your students really did work very, very hard together with yourself. These things don't happen by themselves, but it's definitely achievable. And we're going to run out of time in about 31 seconds. So it will just be lovely if everybody says thank you to you. And everybody, you'll receive the slides with Orly's email address and phone number. And if you'd like to ask her any more questions, feel free to be in contact with her. Thank you very, very much, Orly.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.